Hey everybody, Mike Moger, Right Kingdom Real Estate, beautiful, sunny Boulder, Colorado. Earnest money. There's a topic. That's a page turner. That's dinner talk, don't you think? Well, it's very, very important in a real estate transaction to know what earnest money is and what you're putting down and where it's going and where you could lose, because you could lose that earnest money as a buyer. And as a seller, earnest money is important because you want to know how serious that buyer is. How much is he willing to lose? Here's what earnest money is. As a buyer, when you go out and look at properties, you find the right one, you need to show the seller that you are serious. I mean, you're not just spending a Saturday out with your realtor looking at people's homes. I mean, you're not just out kicking foundations. You're serious. You want to buy that property. And you're willing to go through all the machinations, all the obligations you have in that real estate contract and show up at the closing table and pay for it and take that deed. Now, in order to do that, you use earnest money. You put down a certain amount of money and you say, look, I'm so serious. I'm in so much earnest about this real estate transaction that I'm willing to lose this amount of money to you if I just up and change my mind for no good reason. If I decide, I don't know what I was thinking, I love Massachusetts, I'm not going to move to Colorado, and you want out of the contract, then you will lose that earnest money. If you find another deal down the block that's even better, and you act on it, well, then you're going to have to get out of this real estate transaction. You give up your earnest money. Think of it this way. As an owner of real estate in the United States, that seller, that property owner, has certain rights. Quiet enjoyment of the property. He can do with the property what he wants, within the restrictions of the zoning regulations and those kinds of things. But also, he has the right to sell that property at a profit or a loss. Doesn't matter. He has the right to choose to sell that property. Now, when you, as a buyer, present an offer and you sign around a real estate contract for the purchase of that property, you take away that seller's right to sell it to someone else. You have purchased, if you will, the right that seller has to sell that property to someone else. And you should pay for that right. Now, you do. You pay for that at the closing table when you buy the property. But if you don't show up at the closing table, if you decide before that or even at the closing table not to buy the property, then the earnest money is payment for taking away that property owner's right to sell that property to someone else. Now, how can you get the earnest money back? Because it's not just, it's not like going to McDonald's and paying for your burger and that money's just gone. It's a deposit while you look at and attempt to buy that property. Now, in the state of Colorado, we have a pre-printed form that was prepared by attorneys in the state, and we all, as real estate agents and real estate brokers, use that same form. In that form, it gives you the right to get the earnest money back as a buyer if the property does not appraise, or if you have the property inspected and you find the southwest corner of the home is sinking into the earth and it just scares the dickens out of you and you no longer want to buy that property. Or if your loan is denied and you can't find a lender to help you buy that property and you no longer qualify for it. Now, all of that within certain time parameters, those kinds of things. But if one of those things happens, then within those time parameters, then the buyer gets the earnest money back. If there's a dispute, it goes to mediation, and we go through that process of deciding who ought to have that earnest money back. So how much do you put down? Earnest money. I have seen, I actually wrote an offer for a client once that was 1/2 the value of the property in earnest money. Now that's absolutely unheard of and ridiculous, unless there's a very special situation that is absolutely not expected and is even looked upon with a great deal of trepidation. But it did happen in this situation. That buyer wanted to very much impress the seller because there were 5 other transactions, 5 other offers on the table, and he wanted to impress the seller to prove that he was really very much in earnest. He didn't get it because the rest of his offer wasn't good enough. But you can write as much earnest money as you want. That's the point. Now, in my geography in Boulder, Colorado, homes or properties, 100,000 up to 300,000, right around in there. Generally speaking, I'll see $1,000 to $5,000, maybe $10,000 as earnest money. The more expensive properties, I've written transactions for even as high as $100,000 in earnest money. 25,000 to 50,000 for very, very expensive properties is very common. And again, using that real estate form that we use in Colorado, there are ways to get that earnest money back if you rightfully walk away from the transaction, given the terms of the contract. But if you just walk away for no good reason, then you have to be willing to walk away from your earnest money as well, and that's payment to the seller for taking away the rights to sell that property to someone else. So there is earnest money. If you are thinking about the possibility of moving this year, or buying an investment property, commercial property, whatever, and you want to get going on it, I'd love for you to give me a call. We'll sit down and talk, and who knows, we may get in the car, go look at some properties, and after a short period of time, you may be writing an earnest money check. Until then, you enjoy your day. Bye now.